There's not anyone here to give the invocation, so I will fill in on that if you would like to join me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time to come together. We thank you so much for the council and for the city employees who work so hard and dedicate so much of their time to keeping the city moving ahead and in positive directions. We pray that you would give us insight and understanding into the matters that will be discussed tonight. We ask all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you. You always steal.
I didn't even take that.
There's quite a few things on the agenda tonight, but most of them are short. So I think we're in good shape.
Just saw headlights pull in.
That's probably right. Okay.
How's Larry?
Hi, everybody.
Good. Yes.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How you doing?
Good. Very well. Since it's 7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shirley, would you take roll call, please?
Mayor Hammond.
Here.
Brandon Lambert.
Here.
Mike Connell.
Here.
Bob Porter.
Here.
Chad Fuller. Mike Connell. I'm sorry. You're here twice. Jacob Puffer.
Here.
And as you all know, Chad is taking his classes, so he has been excused for tonight. Looking now for approval of the agenda.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And now looking for reading and approval of the minutes of the January 18th meeting.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the January 18th, 2024 regular council meeting. Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. I don't believe we have anyone here for pre-approved reports or presentations, so we'll move into public comment. Anyone here for public comment? How about communications? Shirley, do you have any? Okay. So now we'll move into our department head reports. Megan, would you like to go first?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll make this part quick because you're going to hear from me a couple more times tonight. Winter taxes are due February 14th. We can accept summer and winter 2023 taxes in our office until February 29th, the latest. Any taxes still outstanding after that will be transferred to the county for collection. Summer taxes are 96% collected and winter taxes are at about 66% collected. One of the things noted in our audit was that our funds are all concentrated at one financial institution, which limits our FDIC insured ability on the limits of our cash. So I'm going to start exploring options for other institutions that we can open CDs at. It'll just give us a little bit more security. We do have some funds that we need long-term, like the sewer fund and the water fund for saving up for bigger projects way down the line. And they're not funds that we'll need to be able to access at a bank that we go to often. So I'm just going to start exploring those that have the best interest rates. And then I'll be back in touch with that in March, because we also need to, as a council, approve the financial institutions that the city is approved to use. So we'll have that resolution next month. Other thing I'm working on right now is the building authority audit. It's a separate audit from the city's main audit. It's for the bond of the building. It's a very simple audit. That information is with the auditor. I expect to hear back from them probably by the end of March. And that's what I have for now.
Anyone have any questions for Megan? Thank you, Megan. Kevin, you're up.
We'll start with the generator for City Hall project. I got an update that the auto transfer switch will be delivered here for us to unload on 4/8/24, and the generator will be delivered on 8/14/24. Those are confirmed delivery dates from Motor City Electric. That's the confirmations that they got, which they deal with these companies a lot, so pretty confident in those dates. For the car to access update, met with Jake Bronson from SA Mormon today. He wanted to do an on-site walkthrough and see again for himself what we can and can't do based on our amended budget and the previous quote that we received from them. He claims that changes in the industry are making it harder to get away from systems with maintenance fees or some sort of access fee. But he said that some of them are still pretty low, like an annual fee. He's going to rework a quote and get back to me on that, and hopefully we can have it on the next agenda. It sounds to me like we're only going to be able to do the City Hall building here and the new bathroom. We'll be able to work that into the construction. And then everything else we'll have to put a pin in and wait for a later date and budget and add on to the system later. But once we have the groundwork established, it's my understanding it's a lot easier to add things on. So the bulk of the work will be done with the grant money. We had a catch basin repair at Oakwood and Wild Oak. I took the salt truck out on Sunday, drove by, saw there was a hole there, some bricks had caved out in. We had the crew go out and patch that up this week. We had 2 new water sewer accounts activated. We installed meters in new homes. That's 50% of what we had budgeted for our sewer and water funds to meet our budget needs that was approved for last year. So the building and housing market has kind of dropped off a little bit. So we're hoping we get the other 2. If not, the budget will be fine. It just helps our numbers.
Well, we just got 2 new building permits today.
Good to know. So we'll hit our mark on that. So we've been doing service line inventories and home interior inspections, and we've done some potholing in people's yards. We've done about 150 inspections without incident, 1 minor incident leading up to this point. We were tagging houses to gain access, and it stirred up some complaints. People are wanting to know why we need to go in their homes to do these inspections, and everyone here knows it's a state mandated inspection that we have to fulfill, so that we have a complete inventory of what our water service lines are. So we've started putting more information out to let residents know what these inspections are for. We have signs, this paperwork posted here, down here outside the door, upstairs on the door. We put stuff out on the website so that people, if they have questions, can go review that information and see for themselves why we have to do what we're doing, and try to ease the burden on us and them. So information is always important. I don't know if we're going to talk about our committee meeting for Bath Road.
Yes, we are, later, under new business.
I do have some information that came in today about
Yeah,
that.
we can talk about that then.
Okay. Other than that, that's all I have for you right now.
Any questions for Kevin? Okay, we'll have you back up in a few minutes.
Okay.
How about you, Shirley? You got anything? How about Police Chief Kyle Box?
I do. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to let everyone know that the new mass notification system that the county is going to utilize, called Everbridge, is available for people to access and sign up for. Administratively, I don't know where the county's at yet, but it's a pretty robust system, and I'm very anxious to be able to see how it works. I've been impressed with what I've heard about and what the possibilities are. So if you get a chance to go, you can go to shiawassee.net and scroll down through the government tab to the bottom, I think is emergency management. And if you go to the middle of that page, or the page navigation section, it's right in there for Everbridge. So you can click on that, sign up for it, and I signed up for it last week, and it was pretty easy to go through the process and do.
It's not an app or anything when you have a
You
phone?
can download an app. As far as the registration goes, the link takes you to, and the link might even offer you to download the app, but the link is more or less for you to register yourself, your address, phone number, all that fun stuff. February 22nd, I will be attending the high school with the high school principal and the middle school principal, and we're going to be talking about ALICE, which is an acronym for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evade. I'm an instructor in that, and actually it was February of 2020, I became an instructor, went to the school and said, this is what we need to talk about in the future and roll this out. And about the next meeting, COVID hit. So it took a couple more years to get things rolling, but we have trained all the staff, including food service, support staff, transportation, and we're looking to incorporate the students to some degree, not a whole lot, but Dr. Haven will be there, and we'll all give a brief overview and answer any questions. So look, if you have a school-age student, look for information from the school coming out regarding more specifics on that.
You said it was the 22nd?
Yes, it's a Thursday. This week, we started planning for our active violence incident training for the year, and sat down with 5 other trainers in the county. So we'll start putting together a list of equipment needs, and we have dates and location established. So we'll meet a couple more times before May when we actually put those 4 sessions together for the county. Here at Perry PD specifically, we are working on a policy refresher and putting things together in a couple weeks. We're all going to sit down as a department and go over use of force and our pursuit policy, and just touch on some key policy areas that we need to be refreshing. And just a general reminder, because of the time of year, not really the weather that we're having, but the time of year, to make sure snow and ice is cleared off sidewalks if it hasn't melted off already. And just a reminder of the overnight 3 to 6 parking, and keep the vehicles off the road. And that is all I have.
Very good. Any questions for Kyle? Comments? Thank you for all the training and stuff you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I do not have any reports tonight. We'll be talking about a couple things under new business. Do we have any committee reports tonight?
I don't know if you want me to report on parks. I know
Yes.
Megan's done a lot of the work too, so she might have some additional stuff to kind of iron out. But I guess from a high level, we had an over 2-hour meeting, me, Chad, Megan, and one community member, Teresa DeLu. We went over quite a few different items. I definitely reviewed the minutes because of the length of the meeting. But in order, we started with the Veterans Memorial Park. We got approval this week, right, Megan, for the insurance, so that is gonna go. We got our plans that Shirley did with Rourke, and the insurance sounds like that's good, so that's gonna start. We confirmed our summer fun family night for July 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. We talked a lot about the Playscape and crowdfunding service we're putting together. I would say Megan probably did the majority of the legwork there, coming up with estimates for the playgrounds. Chad, myself, Teresa, and Megan talked about, which Playscape might be optimal and more realistic. We talked about setting our crowdfunding budget. I think we landed on 12.5 for now, but Chad, myself, Megan, and anybody that wants to donate, we're just kind of getting our feelers out before we lock that budget in. That would go live, I think we're talking about March.
Hopefully the beginning of March, yeah.
So then we would have 60 days to crowdfund for a dollar for dollar match. If we get our mark, whatever that goal is does get matched dollar for dollar. If we miss our mark, we don't get those funds. So it's important that, as we build up to that timeline, we kind of get a good idea of who really wants to get involved. As of right now, I've had one business confirm a $1,000 verbal donation. That was Ryan Reynolds with Reynolds Tree and Land Clearing Services.
Okay.
He bought the old Perry Dental office off of Lansing
okay.
Road.
Okay.
So he was eager to get involved. He even offered to donate some of his equipment
Oh,
for
nice.
some of the install. So he was happy. Still reaching out. I have a list of businesses from the Halloween party that I'm going to try to just go through and kind of work that out. There was a couple really good ideas. It was nice to have someone from the community come and participate. One idea in particular was potentially a pancake breakfast with the VFW. So there's a lot of good ideas, and we're just going to take this time before that crowdfunding to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to meet our goal. So what else? Beautification projects, we talked about that idea. I would say due to the park, it was more of just a brainstorming idea. How big do we want it? What do we want to focus on? Try to narrow the scope in before we get a plan together. So I think the consensus was to start in the downtown area, down on Main Street, try to get some sort of schedule together once we figure out who wants to volunteer when. I reached out to the school to try to get them involved, waiting for a response back from them. And I'm going to also reach out to a couple of the various shops for maybe partnering on coffee and community is maybe what we'll call it. Do some like weekend volunteer work and stuff. So it's kind of where that led, and we'll see where it kind of irons out. Bench donations, Megan, do you want me to go through that?
No, you don't have to.
Okay. And that was kind of, I would say that was kind of the entire park meeting. So 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we had a lot of really good conversation, and I feel like we're starting to make some progress on some of these summer ideas.
Very good.
So, any questions on that?
Anybody have questions for Megan or for Jacob about the parks? Good job. Sounds like you are making progress. That's
Yeah.
great. Any other committee reports? Okay, we'll move on then to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and payment be authorized.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Jacob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We don't have anything under old business, so moving into new business. The first item is downtown beautification. Do you want to talk about that some more, Jacob, or did you pretty much cover it all?
I think I pretty much covered it all. The only thing I just, a lot of those topics are ideas. We're definitely in, the brainstorming phase. But we'll try to have something in the upcoming meetings, to get to work.
The second item on our agenda is the second quarter budget comparison. Megan, that's yours.
So to start off, I have no recommended amendments this quarter, just a couple things to point out. Everything looks on track. We're about 50% running for both expenses and revenue, as we should be this time of year. Interest revenue update, we talked about this a little bit before. Our budget across all of our funds for interest revenue this year was about $12,000. I've already recognized $16,000 and expect that to double by the end of the year just because of the use of the CD investments. No risk in a CD, right? The only risk is that I need cash, I need it now. But they're on a rotating schedule, so about every 3 months I have CDs renewing at this point. So we'll always have access to cash in case of some kind of emergency. Always enough cash on hand to pay the bills. Bonds are coming up and there's plenty of cash available for those. We did receive recently a large insurance check. Surely it was
$379, I think.
so. I am going to just plop it in a CD. We know we don't need to spend those funds until closer to summer when we start putting the buildings back up. So that'll just go ahead and generate some extra revenue while we sit around and wait to get some construction progress. As for a little bit more about the tornado on page 1, tornado related revenue at this time is about $120,000, and that was insurance reimbursements at the time and donations. And expenses as of December 31st were $138,000, and that was the initial cleanup and sidewalk repair, tree removal, all of that. There will be audit adjustments to go along with those, but we'll wait for auditor input when we kind of wrap up some of these projects and know what final numbers are. There's no point in continuing to make amendments every quarter, not knowing what the next few months are going to look like. The DPW salary line, and this is just the salaries that come out of the general fund, not salaries as a whole. That line item is going to be over budget because those 2 weeks, so much of their time was solely focused on tornado cleanup and overtime related to tornado cleanup. Their other salary lines in their other funds are well under budget. Department 701 is the Planning Commission Department on page 6. The consulting line will be over budget. That's for the master plan project. Those maybe a slight budgeting misstep is I should have budgeted for the grant revenue for the master plan as well as the full expense, but that was kind of all in limbo when the budget was set. So we'll do a couple amendments there too, but there is revenue to offset the expense that'll be over. While we're there, a master plan update, I just received a draft from McKenna today. It was sent to the Planning Commission members, and Jeff from McKenna will be at the meeting on Friday to walk through the draft. As long as the commission doesn't have any large-scale edits they want to see, I believe it can, at that point, come to the next council meeting, and we'll start, as long as council approves it, it'll start a 60-day review period. That still has, in that 60-day review period, it still allows anybody to make edits. If you're reading through it and you see a typo, we can make those edits in the 60 days. So as long as large sections of content aren't changing, I think that project will be moving forward. And I looked through it extensively and I didn't see anything glaring. Things will change, but nothing that's going to change the content as a whole. In the water fund, there's 2 revenue line items that stood out to me. That was on page 11. Miscellaneous slide page. Yeah, bottom of page 11, miscellaneous revenue, $7,654. That was the mutual aid that Bancroft paid us from when we helped them out with their water tower project in the summer. And then there was insurance claim for the incident at the well. So those are insurance revenues that you see there for an additional $14,000 of unbudgeted revenue in the water fund.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
On the CDs, I think that's awesome, first off. I think that's great that we're making money just by having it in a bank account, so kudos to you. With money like that, you know, historically CDs were not that high, so we're making a lot more money than maybe we normally would. What does that money go to? Does it just go in the general fund? Are we allocating that?
So the money that's in CDs right now is spread across all of our funds. Every fund that's large has a
Okay.
CD right now. So the interest stays with the fund. The general fund has about 400,000 in CDs right now, so all of that revenue stays with the general fund. The motor pool CDs, that revenue builds the motor pool fund. Because we're in such excess of where I thought we'd be, that's unbudgeted revenue. At the end of the year, if it's not designated to be spent somewhere, it rolls into fund balance, and it just helps the bottom line for future emergencies, essentially, or unplanned expenses.
With our needs for DPW buildings
Right.
being built, it's wonderful that it's there, but I don't think it'll probably be there at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'll definitely help offset some of the
Yeah.
expenses, because the other thing to consider when we do need to rebuild the DPW barns is isn't gonna be funded only by the general fund.
Right.
All of the services use the barn, water, sewer, motor pool, roads, all of those funds can share in the cost to rebuild the barn.
Got it.
Or build a barn.
Back to the master plan for just a second, Megan. Do you have any indication from McKenna that the time extension, if you will, from what their early forecast was, is impacting the quote that they originally gave us at all? Or is this
No.
just
There's
largely
everything's-
a timing issue, or that
Yeah.
we may have under budgeted slightly?
Right.
But we'll still get our
Yeah, there's been
funds from
no,
the state?
there's no change in the cost so far. Now that we have a draft, once I submit the draft to the RRC, they will release the next round of reimbursement funds from the grant. So I think it was about half. I think we get half once the draft is in play.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be an approved draft. They have to look at it to make sure that it meets their requirements for what they say an RRC, Essentials Community, should have in their master plan. And there's a whole section in the draft about how it relates to our
And-
progress there.
It should, because we basically got their sign off on using
Yes.
that company for
Yep,
the coaches.
they're just making sure we're still playing along, and we are. It's a
Thank
great
you.
program. Mhm. Anything else?
Any other questions for Megan, anyone? Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Megan.
Kevin, if you'd like to come up and talk to us about the new mower.
So, the older mower that we currently have in service, our old Exmark, is, it's 2005, and even with good maintenance, everything wears out, so it's come due that we need a new secondary mower to help mow parks and all the properties that we mow and maintain throughout the summer. So I've solicited a bid from Hudson for the purchase of a new John Deere zero-turn mower. They submitted the bid. I'm trying to look and see if it was my deal or Sourcewell.
Down on the bottom it says contract Sourcewell, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay. So it was a Sourcewell contract, which is an approved source for state budgeting purposes. So they really can't get us a lower price, even if we go out for bids, they're not gonna be able to beat it. So typically, we've just submitted a My Deal or a Sourcewell bid for approval. And this includes the trade-in of the old one. They're gonna give us $1,000 for that one, which I feel is pretty good for the year and the amount of hours on the old mower. So I'm asking council to approve the purchase of a new one. I just wanted to point out too that we sold a dump truck last year about this time in an auction, and we gained revenue close to what we're looking to spend on this mower. So one should offset the other. So the funding is there. This is a budgeted item, and I'm just looking for your approval.
Any discussion or questions for Kevin? Council?
Does the budget cover this anticipated amount or close to it, Kevin?
Yes, we had that included in there in the approved budget, so.
We budgeted for 15,000.
Oh, well.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question just because I know we're trying to scramble, I wouldn't say scramble, we're trying to make sure that we get the barns covered. Is there any interest in financing it in order to keep the cash for the DPW rebuild?
This will come out of motor pool.
Okay.
So this is out of the equipment fund, so we can't use that money we can use some, but the revenue or the money in the motor pool fund is typically for maintenance and purchase of new equipment. And the stuff comes due and we gotta be able to carry on with our work, but this shouldn't impact the amount that we spend on the DPW barn at all.
Yeah, the only reason I asked is like, I was looking at mowers for my personal life, and most of these dealers, they offer 0% or something, same as cash, So I'm just curious, so that's fair.
It was budgeted for 15,000 and they're asking to spend 10, something,
Just a little under 11,000.
yeah.
I move that we approve the trade-in of the 2005 Exmark mower, receiving 1,000 trade-in, and approve the purchase of a John Deere Z950 Z-Track mower from Hudson Incorporated in the amount of $10,930.38. We authorize Kevin Tyler, DPW Supervisor, to sign the sales agreement.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Kevin. Now we can talk about gutters. Kevin will inform us regarding that.
So, been working on the gutters for this building. I reported last time I was at the council meeting that the gutters had been installed on the west side of the building, and they were mismatched. They were the wrong color. I brought it up to Precision Roofing that to give me a price to redo this side so that it matches and they don't have to tear that side off and be out that money and put up the right color. If we match this, it all matches the building. It would look really nice if this was done. So they are willing to do it for a discounted rate from what they would normally charge. It's a pretty good deal, and then we can have new gutters on the whole building, which will last a long, long time. So I bring that to you, council members, to seek approval so that they're not out all their money and we are able to improve our building. I know this is a general fund purchase, but we did have money budgeted to do some landscaping and stuff around this building. We can just use that money for that and hold off on the landscaping. We'll do some of the maintenance and fix the stuff that needs attention, but as far as redoing all of it, we'll have to put that on hold if we do the gutters. So they offered to do it for $3,000, and they're gonna subtract $3,747 from their overhead, from their cost. So we're getting it done for less than half if we choose to go this route. If we choose not to go this route, they'll have to rip off the side that's already done and put up the right color, or they've talked about offering to paint it, which I'm not a fan of, because then that's a maintenance item. So,
Do we have some discussion regarding this? We've talked about it a little bit in past meetings, but these are the details we needed to really talk about it.
So their bid for this side was really $6,747, and they're giving us, but they only want 3,000 recouped, correct?
yes.
Is it just me or is it, I just got gutters on my house from the tornado and it was like $1,100. Is it because it's 4 stories or 3 stories?
Yeah, it's considered 3 to 4 stories. They're a bigger 5-inch gutter because it's a commercial building with it holds a lot of water.
Okay.
So there's more material there than what you'd see on your house. And the downspouts, you know, they come a long way down, so.
And the longer downspouts and wider, I think they're like a 6-inch gutter, I think.
The install that they did on that side of the building looks great. It does. I just wish it would have been the right color. I wish we would have been able to work that out before they went up.
This includes the removal and haul away of the stuff
It does.
there will be taken down
It does.
too, so.
And also, while they were here, they took a section of the old gutter that was removed from this side of the building and put it on the front of the police barn over here, and they did that for free. Just so there was a gutter on the front of that building, because it gets the water drips in front, and it's all brown and green, and we have to power wash it, clean it off, but it was because the water was dripping down on the pavement and splashing back up on the building, and then that side of the building doesn't get sunlight, so.
That was nice.
They did that for us to try to help our cause here, so.
How many downs do we have on this side?
I believe there's one on each end.
Just on the ends?
I don't know if there's one in the middle. I can't.
That's a long run. What's this building, 60 feet long?
Yeah.
That's a long run to run, just 2.
There might be one in the middle, because I don't think they can do a full run on the building. On that side, they had to split it. They split it above the doors. There's a little gap with a chute on it. So they have to do it down where they make the break.
Yeah, it doesn't give a number, does it? It just says install new 3x4 commercial downspout.
Yeah, I assume the stuff that's on the east side has been up a goodly number of years at this point in time, so it's.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the roof and gutters were done. John mentioned it, but I don't recall at this moment. I'd have to look at records and figure out when we had that work done, but.
I personally just don't like the use of landscape funds because I'm just thinking we're going to be rebuilding the pavilion and we're going to be doing a lot of construction. I almost wonder, you know, is there anything else we could pull funds from for it?
We can look into that and get back to you on that.
I think the real question at hand is, do we want to force the vendor to put up the right color and waste all the new material that's on the west side of the building, or do we want to
I like the idea
step
of just
up
get the
and,
new stuff.
pardon?
I'd just do the whole thing with the new stuff. We're never gonna get it this cheap again.
Exactly. I mean, that's, you know, what budget we take it out of, I think is a secondary question,
Right.
deciding if we're going to do it or not.
I'd agree.
I move that we approve to replace the eaves trough and downspouts on the east side of City Hall to match the new eaves trough and downspouts that were replaced after the tornado by Precision Roofing Services, payment not to exceed $3,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Mike. Was that Mike?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That's right.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
we'll
Yeah.
address where the money comes out of at a later time. Okay, now this is kind of routine maintenance kind of stuff, but every year we have to approve the poverty resolution. And this is probably the longest part of our meeting just because this has to be read. But again, I say it's something that we do every year and have done ever since it was allowed to be done. And if you look at the second page of that resolution, it tells you what the 2024 poverty guidelines are based on the size of a family unit. But it's pretty detailed. If you want to take a few minutes to read it through, and then I'll be looking for any discussion. And when you're ready, if you are ready, a motion.
You guys ready? I'll read it.
Okay.
I move that we approve the following resolution. Whereas the adoption of guidelines for poverty exemptions is required of the City Council, and whereas the principal residence of persons who the assessor and board of review determines by reason of poverty to be unable to contribute to the public charge is eligible for exemption in whole or in part from taxation under Public Act 390 of 1994, MCL 211.7U, and whereas pursuant to the PA 390 of 1994, that the City of Perry, Shiawassee County adopts the following guideline for the Board of Review to implement. The guidelines shall include, but not be limited to, the specific income and asset levels of the claimant and all persons residing in the household, including any property tax credit returns filed in the current or immediately preceding year. To be eligible, a person shall do all the following on an annual basis. 1. Be an owner of and occupy as principal residence the property for which an exemption is requested. 2. File a claim with the assessor or board of review accompanied by federal and state income tax returns for all persons residing in the principal residence, including any property tax credit returns filed in the immediately preceding year or in the current year, or a signed State Tax Commission Form 4988 Poverty Exemption Affidavit. 3. File a claim reporting that the combined assets of all persons do not exceed the current guidelines. Assets include, but are not limited to, real estate other than the principal residence, personal property, motor vehicles, recreational vehicles and equipment, certificates of deposit, savings accounts, checking accounts, stocks, bonds, life insurance, retirement funds, etc. 4. Produce a valid driver's license or other form of identification if requested. 5. Produce, if requested, a deed, land contract, or other evidence of ownership of the property for which an exemption is requested. 6. Meet the federal poverty income guidelines as defined and determined annually by the United States Department of Health and Human Services or other alternate guidelines adopted by the governing body, providing the alternative guidelines do not provide eligibility requirements less than the federal guidelines. 7. The application for an exemption shall be filed after January 1st, or 1 day prior to the last day of the December Board of Review. The filing of this claim constitutes an appearance before the Board of Review for the purpose of preserving the right of appeal to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. The following are the 2024 Federal Poverty Income Guidelines, which are updated annually by the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The annual allowable income includes income for all persons residing in the principal residence. Want me to read out that chart?
Yes, please.
Okay. Federal poverty guidelines used in the determination of poverty exemptions. Size of the family unit, 1. The poverty guidelines for one family unit, 14,580. For 2, it's 19,720. For 3, it's 24,860. For 4, it's $30,000. For 5, 35,140. For 6, it's 40,280. For 7, it's 45,420. For 8, it's 50,560. And for each additional person, it's 5,140. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that the assessor and board of review shall follow the above stated policy and federal guidelines in granting or denying an exemption, unless the board of review determines that there are substantial and compelling reasons why there should be a deviation from the policy and federal guidelines, and these reasons are communicated in writing to the claimant. Be it further resolved, if asset levels exceed the items or amounts below, the individual or property owner shall not be eligible for a property tax poverty exemption. 1. The homestead being claimed and personal property used in connection with the use and the occupancy of the homestead. 2. All assets up to a cumulative dollar value of $25,000 carried.
Carried would apply
Carried,
to
yep.
whether or not you vote
Yeah,
yes.
sorry
It
about
was on the
that.
problem.
Thank you, Mike, that was good.
Second.
We have a motion on the table made by Mike and seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
I'll eventually get my copy.
I'll keep saying it. Oh, my. Just one more word.
It's okay, yeah, it was fine. Approval of our city council meeting dates, again, this is a housekeeping thing. We probably should have done it the first meeting of January, but kind of forgot we had to do it. So Shirley has included in your packet the list with the dates, and you'll see that the 4th of July falls on the first Thursday. So in discussion of that and looking at what's been done in the past when this type of things occurred, you'll see in the resolution that's been prepared that if we vote to do that, we would cancel the July 4th meeting, but authorize the mayor to approve the mailing of the payments for that billing period. So it's up to you. Any discussion on that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'm looking for a motion.
I move that,
Go ahead, John.
I move that we approve the city council meeting dates as presented, canceling the July 4th, 2024 meeting and authorizing the mayor to approve the mailing of the payments for the bill list period.
Second.
We have a motion from Jacob, seconded by Mike. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And if you don't want to do it, nay. I forgot what I was going to say. Motion passes. Okay. Moving right along. Oh, yes, the Bath Road Sidewalk Committee did meet, and,
You skipped over.
oh, did I skip
Budget.
something? Oh, discussion of scheduling budget meetings, I'm sorry. Very
The
good, thank you.
exciting part.
Yes. Because we'll start looking at department head budgets next month, and we need to be able to get council's eyes on the budgets, meeting with department heads if desired, and so forth and so on. Again, looking at years past as to how we've done work sessions and meetings and reviews, these dates are preliminary and up to you to decide how you want to do that. Now, I know Jacob's not been through this process. Keena, even though this is what you do at work, you've not been through the process here at the city. And we have, one year, I met with the department heads and then presented it to council, and there was concern expressed that the council did not get to meet with the department heads for questions about the budget, their budget. So that process was changed so that council could meet with department heads and see them present their budget items and talk about them. And so the dates here would be recommended, but we can tweak them however you're willing to do that. February 15th, we would need to set a date for a work session. The 15th of March is the deadline for department heads to have their department budget to the mayor's office, but basically available to me and to you guys too. So we would have a work session after the 15th if you just want to meet to look at what the department heads have put together. If anybody, and maybe not even all of you, want to meet before that to sit down with Megan and Shirley and anybody else that would be contributing to an explanation of how this works, we could meet before March 15th, before we have department head budgets to look at. if you feel like you want to do that. So February 15th, we need to decide if we're just going to meet before or after the 15th, but definitely after we get the department heads budgets put together. Then on the 21st of March, we would set a date for a work session where we all sit down together. Whether that's on a Saturday or a weeknight or before a council meeting or after, we can decide at that time. Once it's tweaked enough and council's comfortable with it, then we have to schedule a public hearing. And we have to publish everything so that city residents have opportunity to see the proposed budget. At the public hearing then, they can come and ask any questions that they might have. And then we have, at the April 18th meeting, if the proposed budget was presented at the last meeting, then the public hearing scheduled, the budget and millage could be approved right then. But if there are more changes, then we go to the next meeting. May 2nd could then be the approved date. But if it's still being worked on, and we need to get the millage from the assessor and Megan work on that together, so that has to be known, and that's, gosh, hardly ever ready before first part of May.
Because we wait for the state
Right.
tells us what the rollback will be because of the Headley Act.
Right. So the Headley rollback has to be figured in there. So May 16th would be our last regular council meeting, and it would be the last regular meeting date where we could approve the budget. It's required by our charter that the budget be approved by the end of May. If we're not ready to approve it at the 16th, then we have to do a special meeting and have it approved by the end of May. Or we all just sit in here with the doors locked until we're ready to do it. So, feel free to look at that. Think about how you want to approach it. Again, Megan and I, Shirley, and any council members are more than willing to meet with the people who haven't been through this process, or if anybody else just wants to tear it apart, because we only do it once a year, so it kind of leaves your mind as to what happens. But so at the next meeting, we need to set a date for a work session.
And I would just add that I don't think it'd be helpful much to anybody before the 15th, because at that point, I'm still getting pieces and parts. Like, I'll have some numbers, and he'll have some numbers, and I haven't put them all into one big document to see a bottom line for anything until about the 15th. So definitely, I can come in, anyone can talk to us at any point if you have questions, and you want to know what we're putting in our budgets, but as far as having any idea of how that impacts the whole budget, it's any time before the 15th would be too early.
Okay.
To see an overarching.
So cross off that part that says either before and make it after the 15th.
I'm taking that RRC class,
Mhm.
which is the redevelopment ready class. It's every Tuesday night.
Yep.
And we actually went over planning this Tuesday, and Megan mentioned that the draft is done. I would just recommend, based on RRC, MEDC, any department heads using the master plan to look over their budget this year, since we do have that. Even though it's in a draft stage, it still might shed some more light on, you know, whatever you guys want to plan for this year or next, or in the next 5 years. So.
Megan, could you make sure that department heads get a copy of that?
They have already.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so there we are. That comes back on the agenda then next month for us to set some dates. Any other discussion, anything else you want to talk about regarding that? Now we can go to the bathroom sidewalk committee. And that was Kyle and Kevin and Keena, and myself, and Chris Cannon from the Shiawassee County Road Commission. He's the managing director there. And we met, I think you all have a copy of the minutes from that meeting? Yes, okay. We met with him on January 24th to explore. Did you not?
I saw them.
No? Okay.
I don't think I ever saw it.
Then I will read them.
Oh, maybe that's.
These are the minutes. A committee meeting was held January 24th, 2024 to explore the process and possibility of installing sidewalk along Bath Road east of M52 to the city limits. And I'll just interject here that we talked about this at a council meeting a while back after the accident, the tragic accident that happened with the lady walking along the road. And we had several community members that expressed concern about what could be done. So I mentioned the people who were present, and we asked a few questions. How does the fact that Bath Road is a county road affect this process? Director Cannon said that it's up to the discretion of the Shiawassee County Road Commission whether to allow sidewalk. And can the county assist us with obtaining funding through grants? Director Cannon said perhaps. What is the process to accomplish approval for the project from property owners? We did not discuss that. We went on to talk about safety being the primary concern, especially with the increased number of people walking along city streets. And talked about that sadly a lady was hit by a car along that road and died, and her dog had to be euthanized, and that was the last part of October of 2023. We asked what other options might happen to be available, because even if we did sidewalks, it would take a long time. We asked if signs could be posted restricting walking along the road, and both Director Cannon and Chief Box jumped out of their seats and said, no, you can't do that. Walking and biking on the road has to be allowed because it's a public road. Director Cannon was terrific. I mean, he gave us a lot of information and was very sympathetic to the community and to the family. But he said this: the cost of this large project was discussed in general. Director Cannon told the committee that the engineering cost alone would most likely be in excess of $200,000. Construction cost would likely be in excess of $500,000. So the conclusion of the committee at that meeting was that this project may have to be on a list for the future once funding is obtained. So we said, how can we make Bath Road safer in the meanwhile? Requesting a speed limit study could be done, but would not guarantee a reduction. This is how Mr. Cannon replied. And Kyle reminded us that the last speed study on Main Street in Perry, which is an MDOT road, resulted in the speed limit being raised. The suggestion from Director Cannon was this: to start with placing signs indicating pedestrian walking in the area, and a second sign on the same pole as an advisory speed limit for the area at 25 miles per hour. He explained that drivers cannot be ticketed for driving in excess of the advisory speed limit, but this makes drivers aware to be cautious and aware of pedestrians. He stated that the Road Commission has a signage department and they would make the signs, consult on placement, and be able to get this done soon. The committee agreed the signage was a good place to start. No further meeting was scheduled, but would be on an as-needed basis, and I prepared those minutes. I'll ask Kyle, Kevin, and Keena if they have anything they'd like to interject.
Nothing at this point, no. Pretty clear what happened.
But you were happy with
I-
those signs?
Yeah, I had actually mentioned, could we lower the speed limit through there just to a certain point from like 52 to, I think it's the Oaks. And that's when we started talking about this, looking into the speed limit, and it could possibly go up. So then that's when we came up with the idea of pedestrians and the caution pedestrians and with the 25-mile-an-hour speed.
Kevin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, we had a MISTIG come in today for the County Road Commission. They have staked the locations for the signposts to be installed. The signpost on the south side of the road was not where we discussed, so I have a call in to Mr. Cannon to figure out what changed, or if we need to work on getting it moved out to where Kyle suggested on the other side of Country Estates.
I talked to him today, whether this is information you already have, I don't know, but he said that there will be 3 sign poles.
Okay.
There'll be 2 on the eastbound side and 1 on the westbound side.
Okay.
I didn't find out if there were, at what proximity to Main Street or the Oaks. I didn't ask that question, but.
Okay. The MISTIG had 2 posts indicated. I drove by and saw the stakes for those 2 posts. I didn't drive all the way out to the railroad tracks, which it sounds like there might be a 3rd location that wasn't on the MISTIG.
Okay.
So we'll mark that area as well.
He did say that the signs should be installed by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Kyle?
I do not. We covered everything thoroughly. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions or discussion in regard to this? Okay. I think this is a good first step. It shows that we are certainly trying to make the walking in the city safer, and we'll start there.
The only question I'd ask, is there any, I know that was driven by the incident, unfortunately,
Yes,
but
yeah.
do we have any place else within the city that has a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit that we have much pedestrian traffic on? I know we've got Country Estates, we've got all of the Oaks along there. We have Britton Road, doesn't have near the amount of houses on it. We've got the school, and I think there is a sidewalk on the north side of Britton, at least out as far as the school. I'm just trying to question whether or not, do we have any place else that we should talk about, not necessarily tonight, but.
Kyle, do you know of any place off the top of your head?
I do not. We have that stretch of Britton Road, west of 52 to Lansing Road.
Yes.
But that road dynamic is completely different than what Bath Road is. It's 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and the shoulders are completely different. We don't have deep ditches. We basically have yards going.
I was looking mainly, the question was, I think out on Bath Road, it's 45.
I think it's
40, so I was 40, so I was looking, are there any other places that we've got? And the only one I could come up with is Britton to the east of 52, because I know west of 52 is 25 in that area.
Yeah, so we installed the sidewalks 7 or 8 years ago from Bradbury to the middle school. And then we have a crosswalk at the middle school where the sidewalk picks up on the school property south of Britton Road.
Right.
So beyond that, we don't, and it's 45. But honestly, I very rarely see any kind of pedestrian or bicycle traffic along there.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so either. I was just raising it as a general question. Was there any place else? And I couldn't come up with anything other than Britton. And you're right, the sidewalk configuration and far less residents out along there, and not near the pedestrian traffic.
Right.
The area we already talked about. Okay,
The other
thank you.
area that concerns me with pedestrians walking or crossing is out at the intersection at Lansing Road and M52. People will park at one fast food restaurant and others in the car will walk to go to a different one. or truck drivers that are parked at the truck stop will walk over, you know, to a restaurant to eat, and they're walking across either M52 or Lansing Road, and there's no crosswalks or anything there. So they're just, and it's dark, dark, dark. Thus my harping on getting lights out there at the corner. So I think that would certainly be something, again, with making a lighting project, getting that lit up somehow, at least right at the corners, would help. But that's the only place I think of. So keep your eyes out. If you see somewhere that you think needs to be addressed, bring it back and we'll look into it farther. Well, I think we're all set with that, unless we hear of other places. So moving on to our next agenda item, I'll turn this over to Shirley and Megan. They're going to report on the pavilion progress.
All right, so we put bids out for the pavilion. We had them back on January 16th, I think it was. Kind of went through them a little bit. We have, not kind of went through them, we went through them. And we have chose our low bidder, Sepka Builders, for an amount of $1,480. That is to build the pavilion to specs, or according to our specs of our blueprints. So we also would like to have you guys approve him just for his experience. He's been a builder for over 30 years. He has a lot of experience. I provided you with his references. I did receive, I sent all 3 bids to the independent insurance adjuster, Scott Whaley, and he said he would get with MML and find out if they would approve the addition, because I think he had figured $170,000 for the rebuild, the independent adjuster did. And when I told him we were asking for 201, he came back, Mark Barrett came back, who is our actual adjuster, and said, yes, we're giving you the full amount of $201,480. We will receive, well, we have received $128,140.50 already toward the pavilion, and then when it is built, completed, we'll receive the $73,339.50. So that's just kind of the plan. Anybody have any questions or?
I wanted to add to it, just so that everyone was aware, we did also interview 2 of the 3 contractors the last time. Chad, myself, Shirley, Megan, we all met them in person, asked all the questions under the sun related to this, and Sean was very knowledgeable and seemed like a good candidate. Not only was he also the lower bid, so I think it's a good fit.
Now, without diving into the specs, I'm assuming the specs that were sent out basically replicates what we had, or close to it.
They're an improvement to what we had. How's that? We have a set of blueprints up in the office. You can come and look at them.
They're sweet.
Okay.
They're the same measurement.
Yes.
The footprint is the same.
We're just...
It's sitting differently. The bathroom entrances are visible from where people sit to watch a ball game, or if their kids are playing up on the hill, they can see those bathroom entrances.
So we're twisting it?
We twisted it, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it will have flat, it'll have a roof, and then it will have a peak with a, what are those things called? Cupola. Yes, on the top. So.
Yeah, you're welcome to come in and
Yeah, you're welcome to
look
come in and
at
look at the blueprints.
Yeah.
Got one set.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion regarding the pavilion rebuild or questions for Megan or Shirley? They're they're in charge of that project. So if you do have questions about that, you should.
I need to
Yeah,
add a
with
few
that.
more things.
Sure.
So we are also going to explore subbing out a few of the electrical HVAC. We're going, or HVAC, or however you say it. Yeah, we're gonna explore subbing those out, seeing if we can get a lower price to save money. We already are having the concrete slab, the laborers union or institute. They're going to do that free of charge. We just will have to buy the concrete. So that is gonna be a big savings for us right there anyways.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, that would be, so, and I haven't spoke to them yet. I wanted to kind of get the approval and then go to the other, contractors and see what we can do. And Sean already knows that we were gonna, and everybody knew that we were gonna do that. We had asked them if they were open to that, and everybody was, so, yeah. So we'll see what we can do about saving some money.
At the time of the tornado, the veterans group from Myers on Lake Lansing Road, no, on Lansing Road, I call that the Little Myers, comparatively in size, it is.
And that. Is that what you-
Yes, it is in Bath,
Okay.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying on.
Meyer
I thought it was
Express.
Lansing. Well, that
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
Okay.
The veterans group from that store came out and brought things, brought water, and that group came and helped with the cleanup all around that building. They picked up and raked, and they were here all day Saturday. And I don't know if he's the manager, but their boss, who was with them, before they left for the day, said, when you're ready to rebuild, please let us know. We want to be a part of that. So I don't know just what they want to do, but maybe they want to plant stuff or
Landscape.
grass or,
Yeah.
And so I think that will also be a contribution. And they were a veteran, they were all employees of Myers, but they're all veterans.
I go there all the time.
Any other questions or discussion about this?
Once this gets, if this gets approved, what was his timeline for this? Did he say it could be this summer?
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, yeah, I think, like, just in general talking, if weather stays good, I mean, I think he could start anytime.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
way
mean,
the
if it's
weather's
gonna be
been.
54 next week, then
Yeah.
we can start next week.
Ground's still soft. Yeah. So I move, sorry. Can I?
You may.
Okay. I move that we approve SEPTA Builders for the rebuilding of the Veterans Pavilion, price not to exceed $201,480 as provided by insurance, and authorize Shirley Smith, city clerk, to proceed on scheduling the project.
Second.
Larry.
We have a motion from Jacob, second by Bob. I heard him first. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Yay.
So tell him to get busy. Is there any other business to come before council at this time? Council, do you have anything you'd like to discuss or any observations you'd like to make? Anyone else for public comment? How about agenda items for our next meeting?
Council dates,
Yeah.
budget meeting.
Yep, budget meeting dates to be discussed.
Are you gonna have any more for the downtown?
No, our next meeting is in it's February 26th, Megan. I think it's end of February, so we're gonna want to keep gathering information, and we'll have some report back in March.
Okay. Yep, I have the 26th.
We did talk about Gosh, last spring and summer, we were meeting regarding funding the police department and talked about a special assessment for that. And after many meetings and discussions with council as well, it was asked if we would hold off on moving through the special assessment process until after the CISA ambulance special assessment was finalized and in place. Now that's in place. And then we also said, let's make sure that we terminate the mutual aid agreement with the Morris Police Department so that it didn't appear we were funding police elsewhere with a special assessment, and now that has been completed. So I would like to have on the next agenda to set a public hearing for the police department special assessment. That process takes a couple of months, and we certainly need to get that done and in place before the next budget. We'll have that on the agenda as well. Go ahead.
One other thing we might consider, and I know it seems early right now, but we might want to talk about whether or not we're going to, I don't say coordinate, but have a community-wide yard sale or garage sale. We usually do that early May,
Yeah.
but if we could at least get people, locking in what weekend we're going to do it on, if we're going to do it.
I had actually someone call today and ask when it was gonna be, and I just thought it was gonna be this third week in May. That's what I
We
told
just
her.
need to-
So,
Yeah, let's
Okay.
formally
All
set
right.
that,
Let's just
yeah.
formally set what the dates will
Okay.
be.
The weekend, I guess it's a full weekend thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I had May 16th, 17th, and 18th or something. Was it the dates? Is that what it is?
That sounds
Usually
about
the
right.
third weekend? Is
That's
that what I
would
told
be.
her?
Yep, it's the third week. It's always been the
third
third
week,
weekend,
yeah.
and we've never deviated, so.
Yeah, but let's formally set that
Yeah.
next time.
17th, 18th, 19th.
Anything else?
Good call. The community-wide cleanup would be in succession to that.
Oh, that's right, yeah, and the
Oh, yeah.
the community-wide cleanup.
Right.
What did we call that before?
Community-wide cleanup.
Is that what? Good Kevin, good Shirley.
Megan, did you put out the
Sure,
tree
we've done
thing?
that the week
Whenever
after.
they don't sell,
Yeah.
they can get rid of it.
Mhm.
That's a great idea.
Is that the track, we did
We
the
put
trash barn?
Didn't we get big dumpster things
Right.
to,
I don't know
for
if this
people
will
to
be
bring
available
stuff to
this year.
last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, we used 11 of the 12 that Waste Management offered.
Yeah. Can you check and see if that's something we could do? I think it was a yearly thing
Yes.
in our
Okay.
contract,
Yeah,
so,
in the contract.
yeah, okay. All right.
On the tree, did we put a date, has to be in by or anything? I don't remember.
April 1st.
Okay.
So the
me a
tree
little
order
bit.
form, the order form is on our website, it's on Facebook, and there was a message on all utility
I
bills.
saw it on my utility, my
Um,
water bill.
Yeah, we're
That's-
not doing an individual mailing, it would cost close to $700 to mail the flyer to every home in the city, so, for the sake of saving a tree.
Do we have that up at the school at all?
No, but well,
Is that worth that?
I don't know that we want it as widespread as that,
Okay.
because we're trying to keep it, if a couple outsiders buy, fine, but I don't think we want to be inundated with,
Sure.
yeah,
per
all
se
of the
vendor.
orders, yeah, so order forms are, at Carl's on the message board, they have this, I put extras there, they can take with them, and they're on the counter here at City Hall.
Did it?
Okay, did that answer your question, Barb?
Yeah, I just wanted,
You're here.
it's too early to schedule something, we need to have a delivery date. There's things that we need to figure out how we're unloading and all this stuff. I had long conversations with my
Okay,
buddy that lives up there.
good, good. Thank you for doing all that.
Mhm.
Anything else that needs to come before council? Meeting's adjourned at 8:16.